Nick Barris. We're here doing our group meeting for lesson 3 for Econ 151.
Is it like group 8 or something?
I'm not even sure, yeah.
One of the groups, I think we're the only ones that can post under our section of the, the group board. So
that makes it nice.
Someone will figure it out.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So I'm Joshua Ernest. I'm probably not going to think to look at the camera to see my, so whoever's watching, hello, instructor, Sister Gardner, so you can see my smiling face. You don't want to look at that anyway. It's whatever. Anyway.
All right. I'm James Henley. I'm here and present, alive and well. And we're just waiting on Justin. He'll be joining us shortly. He just caught up for a minute.
I think another class meeting or meeting from another class, but
yeah, I just got done with
it
one.
Works.
Okay.
Yeah, I got most all of it done. I think only like 3 or 4 I didn't get to. Most of them were kind of definition questions, which made it nice. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
So I think we should go through this pretty quickly, at least a little bit quicker than last time is my guess.
Yeah, definitely. I actually went and did all of them. So I'm done with everything.
Nice.
Yeah, I went through them all, and so that should be good.
Should be able to move on pretty quickly.
And we have a Justin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Justin.
He's got a camera working now.
I do. Although, let me see if I can change it to a different one. I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. I have my work webcam, and that's why you see this big blue thing. It blocks. It's supposed to block everything behind me, and so really, my camera actually sits like right here, but it zooms in a little bit more.
Nice.
So
are you like video chat support for TurboTax?
How'd you know?
Because your shirt.
Yep. Yeah. So I am a tax support agent. So basically, I just help people know what forms to file, how to file, when to file, how much to allocate, how to basically anything there is. The only thing I'm not licensed to do, I'm not a CPA or an enrolled agent, so I can't give advice. But anything else falls under my job description.
Cool.
So,
you want a free CPA?
What's that?
You want to get your CPA?
I do eventually. I actually want to go for my MTax, Master's in Taxation, later on. Now, eventually I want to start my own company, but I want in the outdoor industry, but I really enjoy taxes, funny enough. And I know a lot of people don't. So
yeah,
that's the goal.
You and my father, I don't understand people like you. But anyway.
All right.
So I do want to apologize here. Now it is tax season. It was hard to look through all of the quiz assignments. But I have done my homework assignment already for the week. And so I feel like I might have an okay understanding of the content.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty simple, so.
Right.
Well, should we start?
Yeah.
I think so.
You want to just like go through so we're not just waiting for somebody to read them? Maybe I'll start and then we can, I don't know, just kind of create a process.
Just kind of like go take turns reading one?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
Question 1.
Cool.
Focuses that make market economics work are supply and demand.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I got.
So
I'll go. Go ahead.
For the second question, the highest form of competition is called a perfect competition, is what I chose.
Yep. Same.
I figured that's because I guess the opposite of that was monopoly. I guess something like that. So
there we are. I'm just getting mine pulled up here, so I'm a little late to the game. Thanks for waiting for me, by the way.
No problem.
Totally.
Okay.
Did you get those first? You see those first two?
Yeah, so the first one, supply and demand. Second one, perfect competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I can take question 3. I would say the demand for a good. I would say that it's both those who buy and those who sell the good or service.
I just chose the first one, A, those who buy the good or service. The supply is determined by the sellers and demand is determined by the people who buy. At least that's what I thought.
Yeah, I chose those who buy the good or service as well, because I was thinking that it would be they would be the ones that demand, and the sellers would be the ones that are in charge of the supply.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I had this.
My only justification behind that, and I'm probably wrong, but I figured I might as well say it, was that those who sell the good or service sets the price, which could in turn increase the demand. But I'm probably just looking at it a little short-sighted.
Yeah, but technically price only determines quantity of demand, which is different than demand itself.
Oh, you are? Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Well, I mean, granted, yes, I haven't gotten around to doing the homework assignment for this week, but I guess there under the additional resources for the week, there's a bunch of like videos that I watched that I guess are good. I'll probably read the chapter and whatnot still, but yeah, based on those videos, I guess the material kind of suggests that it's the market that would determine the price and such, not the seller or the buyer.
Mm.
Yeah,
I agree.
I know. I guess it's kind of
Yeah.
more of an abstract term, but that's.
No, I think you're right, because it in the homework assignment, there's one question that said it gave 2 different people, and it said this is what their demand was. It gave out the schedule, the price schedule or demand schedule, and then it said the market, plot the market. So it had us plot each of those, individuals, both of them, and then also the market. And when I first did that problem, I did it incorrectly, and I realized all it was the market consisted of just those 2 people. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to go with those who buy the goods, and the good or service, or both those who buy and those who sell?
Just those who buy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think we're good with that. All right, so question 4. Most studies indicate that tobacco and marijuana tend to be, I chose substitutes.
Same. Or no, actually, I think complements.
You need complements?
I went with substitutes, but I could see the case, I guess, for complements as well. I marked off that it was clearly not unrelated or inferior goods.
Yeah. My thinking was like an example of complements would be like, the ice cream and the hot fudge. Like I said, if the hot fudge is cheaper, then an ice cream is a complement to that. To me, tobacco and marijuana is like a cigarette or marijuana. That's a substitute, in my opinion.
Does one, I guess, smoke one over the other, or do they smoke them together? I guess is the question. And I'm sorry, I have no context. I have no way of knowing.
I guess it depends on the state you live in, right? I would think it would be substitutes.
Okay.
For purposes of this class.
True.
Well, we can take majority vote there. I'm good with that.
Okay.
So the following table contains a demand schedule for a good. What's that? The table. A lot of demand applies to this good. I think Q1 could be. This is one I actually didn't do. So looking at it.
I chose 0 on this one because it's if you just picture it in your head, if the price is $10 and the quantity demanded is 100, if price is higher at 20, then the quantity demanded is going to have to be less than 100. and there is no option other than 0 that's less than 100.
That makes sense.
And that would make sense to me too.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know, because I had, when I went through this, I put down 0. I couldn't remember why I did that, and as you're explaining, I'm just like, okay, that matches up with, I guess, what I was thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, and so question 6, referencing figure 4.7, the movement from DA to DB could be caused by, and I went with an increase in the price of a complement.
That's what I initially thought as well.
Well, because, okay, so it's a shift to the right, meaning that, wait a second, because it would be the quantity.
This is the demand line.
Yeah, so people are demanding it more.
Right.
And okay, so D, the answer of D, increase in the price of a complement, that would be if...
It'd be decrease, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it can't be D because if a complement's price is increasing, that's going to hurt it, not increase demand.
It's the supply line or supply curve that goes right, shifts right.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is I chose B, a decrease in income, assuming the good is inferior.
So did I, and the only reason why I did is because when a line shifts, that's normally not related to price. But if there's a movement along the line, that's related to price.
Okay.
True. Which, in the case of a complement, that's irrelevant because...
Oh, you are correct.
Because if there's the price of the same good or service, then that only affects it within the same line. So it could be a shift with a complement if its price changed, but that's the wrong direction.
Okay.
Is anybody else's images really blurry on here? Like you really have to look at them to figure out what the graph says sometimes?
No, mine are pretty good.
I printed mine off, actually. So I mean, it printed off fine, so I don't know if that's just because of the printer I have, or I don't know.
Okay.
Mine aren't really blurry, but they're small, so like sometimes there could be some discrepancy between what it says, but they're clear.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so question 7. Let me take a look here. If the 4 families listed in the table are the only demanders of Mountain Dew in the market, which of the following is a correct graph of the market demand? Okay. I don't have an answer yet. I do apologize.
Well, as I was looking through them, when first glancing at things, I went with graph A, and then I actually looked at the numbers, and I was just like, okay, wait, why is my gut instinct A? And I compared, looked at all the 4, and on B, C, and D, it didn't look like that at least one piece of data didn't match up. And on A, I couldn't find anything that did not match up.
Okay.
So I guess that could be a good way of explaining it. Rule out answer 1, rule out answer 2, rule out answer 3.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Okay.
So, and I guess the easiest way of looking at it is that if it's the market demand at $7 is, if you add up the 4 families, that's 50. And on the graph A, the 15150 under quantity is at 7 on the price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the only one like that.
Nothing else is close, so.
No.
Yeah.
And everything else lines up too. So.
Sounds good.
Question 8. When quantity demanded has increased at every price, it might be because, and I went with D, the price of a complementary good has decreased.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Definitely not B.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless anybody has any issues with that answer of D for 8.
No.
Okay.
The quantity supplied of a good is the amount that what D the sellers are willing and able to sell.
Yeah, that's what I chose.
That's what I had as well.
Yeah.
All right. This is another one where I think I just went with a gut instinct on an answer. I think. Today's supply curve for iPods could shift in response to a change in, and I went with actually D, that all the answers are correct.
I was going to, but then when I went to the textbook and the chapter, so the question is today's supply curve could shift. So that's talking about like shifting left or right. It's not the quantity of supply on the same line. So we're talking about a total new line shifting. So the first one, price of iPod, that technically shouldn't do that. That would be quantity of supply, not supply. And then C, the number of buyers, that changes the demand curve, not the supply curve. The number of sellers changes the supply curve.
Okay.
So I just went with B. Expectations would change it, but A and C wouldn't.
Same, I actually want to see.
I went with B.
Or B, yeah, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, I'm just going off of like the textbook, and that's what it's looking like to me. Does anyone else have any other thoughts?
No, I kind of I ruled out those two as well.
Okay. I'm glad you guys are smarter than my gut instinct.
I'm not smarter. I actually had to look that one too.
Yeah, me too.
Well, trust me, you don't have to be very smart to be smarter than my gut instinct.
I think this is the first time I've had a question in like 2 years where all of the above was not the correct choice.
Yeah.
And of course it would be Econ that would have that.
Right.
All right. So I think
it's mine.
Okay.
Question 11, I got C, X to Y. But my only rationale behind that is that it wouldn't, I feel like shifting the demand curve down, I guess I don't know what it was. I felt like it would be more, the price of turkey wouldn't be affected as heavily going from X to Y as it would going from DA to DB.
So I chose a different answer. I chose A because the only thing that's going to change X to Y is the price of turkey itself.
Okay.
If the price of chicken changes, that's a complement, and so that's going to shift it to a different line.
That's true.
That's going to reduce the demand.
See, it's funny that was my initial thought, was that it was A, and then I thought about it too much and psyched myself out.
I almost did the same thing, but
so I put from DB to DA.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out why I would have put that. I guess I need to remember for next week that whatever answers I put to, note some type of rationale for why I'm choosing. Because I went through this yesterday and then I just had to decide. Well, because it would have been just looking at this with fresh eyes, I guess DB to DA would definitely be wrong because a sale on chicken, it would, Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. We've proven that I and my gut instinct are both wrong.
I think what throws you off is that it says at the top the demand for turkey instead of chicken.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's basing it that turkey and chicken obviously are substitutes or complements or both.
Substitutes. You're right. I said the word complement earlier, but no, you're right. They're substitutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we going with A as the answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Question 12. This table, if these are the only 4 sellers in the market, then the market quantity supplied at a price of $10 is, and I did 44 units.
What I got as well.
That's what I got.
I did too.
Okay.
All right. A rightward shift of a supply curve is called an increase in supply.
Me too.
So did I.
All right. Well, I put an increase in quantity supplied. But knowing my track record.
So this is like one of the things that this chapter is mainly trying to prove is get across is like the difference between an increase or a decrease in demand or supply versus an increase or decrease in the quantity of demand or supply. And basically if you have like a line and the dots are moving on the same line, that's quantity supplied or quantity demand. If the line itself is shifting, that's the difference in supply and demand.
Love the explanation. Love it.
I don't know if that helps or not.
No, it does.
Oh, yeah.
I've only got to ask that could you guys maybe take managerial accounting and we can have this group for that class as well every week? No.
I just substituted that this last semester.
Okay, so I think it's my turn for a question.
Yep.
Okay, so with the table, which I guess actually might be the same table, which supply schedule obey the law of supply? And after looking at them, I put firm B and firm D only.
Me too.
I did, but I wasn't sure on that. Does anybody have an explanation on that?
Well, because looking at them, law of supply, as the price goes up, the supply is increased, and so as we're looking at the price under B and under D, firms, not answers, those two firms, the quantities supplied keep increasing. Firm C, it goes up, then it goes down. And then on firm A, it is an inverse.
Right.
Rather than having the supply increase with the price.
Makes sense. Perfect. Thanks. Is it my turn or?
It might be mine, actually.
I think it's Justin.
Okay.
I got equilibrium.
Me too.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was market harmony.
Well, with equilibrium, basically think of it as where X marks a spot, right where the lines connect.
Where it intersects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Because we've got the one line and the other, and where they meet up is that equilibrium point.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess whatever market harmony is, it could also be that, but equilibrium is definitely the term that was used. So,
True. It's the textbook answer. All right, number 16. Refer to the figure above. At a price of $35, there would be I said surplus of 400 units.
Same.
well, I put a surplus of 200 units.
So did I.
And because with that, if we follow the supply, okay, say we start at the equilibrium point, and that's what people are able to purchase at, say, that price of 25. If we then increase the price up to 35, then we find where on the supply line we are, and at that point we're at 600. And so basically people would still be able to buy that 400 that was back at the equilibrium point. And then, so since we're at 600 on that supply and 400 was at the equilibrium point, that 200 difference is the surplus.
Okay. I see your point. I think the way I calculate it was like, so at a price of $35, if we come to the graph and just look at the horizontal line at $35, we see that the product is $35 and there's 600 units being supplied. But because it's $35, people only want 200 of them at that price. And so I think we're comparing it with that point instead of the equilibrium point, because that's at $25. But if it's $35,
okay,
only 200 are going to get sold. And so there's going to be 400 extra.
That was my logic as well.
I think you're right. I initially did exactly what Nathan. I'm sorry, I don't know why I called you Nathan. Joshua.
I take if I'm being called Nathan, everything I know about Nathan is he's a good guy, so I take it as a compliment.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's.
I mean, I feel bad for Nathan because calling me by his name, that's an insult to him. But no, I do like that that explanation, James. So, do we want to go with surplus of 400?
I think so.
Okay.
All right.
Question 17.
Yes.
All right. Which of the following movements would illustrate the effect in the market for fences of a decrease in the price of wood? I put point A to point B.
Me too.
Let's try the effect. I have going from point C to point B. Because with the y-axis axes being price, point B is a lower price than Point B is a lower point than point C. And
right. And they're talking about decreasing the price of wood.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm thinking that wood is one of the inputs for the process of manufacturing fences. And so that's going to make it cheaper to manufacture the fences. And so what that's going to do is going to take us from supply line 1 to supply line 2. Because now it's cheaper for the suppliers to make the fences. So they're going to want to produce more of them. And so we're going from supply line 1 to supply line 2. But the demand doesn't change. So that goes from point A to point B. That was my thinking.
Okay. Okay, where I screwed up is, for some reason I got it into my head, I was looking at the wood market, not the fence market, of which wood is a component of.
And like wood could be a competitor or like a substitute for fence. I see what you're saying. That's why I thought about it for a little bit. But I think what they're getting at is that wood is an input for the manufacture of fences. I think that's what they're driving at.
Okay.
But it could be interpreted a different way. So it's not 100% clear that way. But I think that's what they're after.
Okay, so we're saying from point A to point B is the correct answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so 18, referring to the figure with all else equal, an increase in the productivity of turkey farmers would increase, or an increase in the productivity of turkey farmers would cause a move from, and why did I put...
Is it Y to X?
Yeah,
that's what I put, is Y to X.
Yeah.
Because an increase would increase the quantity. But since this is the demand line rather than the supply line, an increase in the supply would increase the price, and therefore the demand would go down. So that's D. Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
There we go. And I guess 19.
Justin, your turn.
I'm trying to understand the arrows here. It'll take me just a minute.
Okay, you look at 19?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one we're on, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. You got a decrease in the quantity supplied. I would say panel D or panel B. One of the two, and let's see. Panel B. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, panel B is the answer I wrote down at the time. I'm looking at each of the 4 graphs, and I can clearly say that I'm trying to refigure it out right now.
Yeah, I chose B as well because D is a decrease in supply, but B is a decrease in the quantity of supply. The point stays on the same line in panel B, the same supply line.
Mm-hmm.
In D, it creates a totally new supply line. So that's not quantity, that's just supply.
Okay.
And that was the reasoning for mine as well. I couldn't quite, put the words to it, but when you were speaking that, I thought, yeah, that's what it is, except I was thinking it in terms of, okay, lines, points, arrows.
Yeah, kind of a weird set of graphs.
I thought so.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 20, which of these statements does not apply to market economies? And this one was a little bit confusing to me. I kind of took a guess at it. I'm going to see any thoughts you guys have before I say what I put.
My thoughts were C, prices ensure that anyone who wants a product can get it. As far as it does not apply to market economies.
Okay.
But I wasn't 100% positive on that either.
Well, I'm just looking at these answers again, and what I put was B, prices coordinate the actions of millions of people with varying abilities and desires. And I'm sure a lot of factors went into that answer. I'm not sure how much thought was put into it, but at this point, being the last question, I'm sure I was just ready to be done with this quiz last night. And I think yeah, I'm not certain of my answer.
Okay. This is really tough. I put D, prices ensure that what needs to get done does in fact get done. Go ahead.
So we have 4 possible answers, 3 people giving 3 different answers. James, I think you're just going to have to go, take the 4th answer. Only one way to solve this. I'll meet the 3 of you in Thunderdome, and only whoever wins, that's the answer we go with.
There we go.
No.
I actually went with D as well. I was debating between C and D. I pretty much ruled out B. To me,
Okay.
that one seems the most true of any of them, so I don't think that's the answer. And then A, prices prevent decentralized decision making.
And it might be that I just missed the not in the question. Sometimes my reading comprehension is just, no. It gets me in trouble so much in all tests, all classes.
Especially the last question late at night, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
But yeah, and I think A is true as well. To me, it comes down to C or D. And I'm really not sure which one it is. I went with D because it seems the least economic. You know what I mean? It's more like prices ensure that what needs to get done does in fact get done. That's not an economic statement. C, I think, could be a little bit false or true, depending on how extreme you take it. But it's an economic statement. I'm not really sure.
And I think that's kind of a strong statement. And economics isn't about making strong statements in that way. Economics, to me, there's a lot of not necessarily absolutes, but I don't know how to word this. Just because a price is set at a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that something is going to get done. If a company wants to set their prices really high to achieve high sale or a high revenue stream and therefore high profits, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the case. Now, it could mean that the opposite way. If they drop a price down lower, they could have the number of sales, but therefore decrease their overall margin. And so I kind of thought about it in that context when I read it, but I don't know if that was the right way to think about it or not.
Okay.
But if you guys would like, I'd be more than happy to click submit here and then tell you if we're right or wrong.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it could be C or D. I'm still leaning towards D, I think. But yeah.
Okay.
Too bad we can't, you know, two of us select one, two of us select the other, and then we share the points collectively.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to lean towards D2 and go ahead and click submit. Now, what did you guys get?
I stuck with my C and I got it.
You got 100%
Yeah.
with C?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if this has happened for you guys, but my scrolling feature wouldn't work unless I selected the quiz itself, and I think I may have missed or accidentally clicked on an answer because I got a 17 out of 20.
Okay.
I stuck with the marijuana and tobacco or compliments too. I got that one.
You did compliments on that one?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Well, nice job.
Wow.
I don't know.
You got are you pulling our leg? You really got 100?
Yeah, I stuck with just those two from my initial study. I was about to click substitutes because I wasn't sure, but I just stuck with it.
Okay, you learn something about drugs every day.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
So then what did you two get?
Well, I just pulled up the quiz to do it, and apparently, I don't know if there's a way to share my screen, but basically, it's just like I have the Chrome window, up on my second monitor, and it's just all there, but it's just like this tiny little window in